about the stages of every couple goes through, and what differentiate the couples that actually thrive and are happy, and the couples that fail, that either separate or feel miserable being with each other. You probably all seen in your family, maybe it was your parents, maybe your aunt, maybe some friends, couples that stayed with each other, but they didn't really like each other. They had separate lives. Like maybe the woman was really involved in some kind of um, networking, and the man was just like working or watching TV. Like they didn't have much interaction. That is definitely something I've seen in my family. Or you have seen couples that just broke up. Maybe also growing up, it was your parents, it was your aunt, or maybe right now you have those situations within your own friends' cycles, okay? But usually, what impacts us the most when we grow up and we have like an intimate view on what really happens behind closed doors. And then you have the couples who constantly fight, right? Constantly fight, constantly bicker each other, are active or passive aggressive to each other. And that is obviously not pleasant as well. I've been also witnessing that. But this sooner or later does end in separation, or if married, divorced. So I don't know about you, but when I saw this, I literally thought to myself, what's the point of getting married? Like, what's the point even of relationships? Like, they either fight, passively or actively aggressive, separate because, being with each other after such a long time. I'm not talking about the beginning stage where everything is just amazing. I'm talking about a couple that is long together, and we're going to be talking about the stages in just a second. Or they are just living separate lives. There is no emotional connection, no physical connection, no attraction, no spark, no passion. And I was just like thinking, honestly, what's the point of marriage? What's the point of all of this? Maybe really casual dating, casual, connection is better. Casually, 1 or 2 dates, or maybe just 3 months, just a spark stage is much better. So that's something that was on my mind for a long time, right? And only a few couples actually, from what I saw in my childhood, actually had an amazing relationship. Because I grew up not only with my own parents, I grew up with my aunt, uncles, like with neighbors. I had also foster families. I have been seeing different couples from a very intimate perspective as a teenager, as a child, like what happens behind closed doors. And there was one couple that was really loving to each other. I could see there is emotional connection. I could see there is passion. I could see there is respect. I could see there is intimacy. And I was like, I was really young when I was living with them. I think I was 18. And I was like, wow, they were like my caretakers at that time. And I was just like, that is just crazy. This is so beautiful. And it really made me hopeful that loving, respectful relationships exist. But also what I saw in this couple is that they they have been very following a faith, but also they've been going to kind of like a couple counseling thing, not because their relationship failed, but because they were just really into spiritual growth. They were into learning what is it to be a good wife, a good husband, and they've been open to those concepts. And I remember one time they came from one of those seminars, and they were like, and I asked them, what did you learn there? And they were telling me, oh, the men had their own seminar, the women had their own seminar, and they told me, okay, yeah, we just learned that, as a good husband, you should really be considerate what your wife asks you. And but when I say wife, you could also like see it in a boyfriend girlfriend relationship, but they were married at the time. So you should be really considerate what your wife asks you, and give her flowers and give her a little gift. Like, I know for a man it's not a big thing, but for women it is. And then I asked the woman, what did you learn? Oh yeah, we learned that men often like some action. So being able to go out to play golf together is important for them. And I was like, I mean, that's interesting. I'm sure not every man likes to play golf or whatever, or not every woman likes flowers, but at least they're trying to be considerate. They're trying to like think, okay, what does my wife like? What does my husband like? You know what I mean? So they were literally actively working on their relationship, and they were kind of like trying to fulfill each other's needs and desires. And I'm gonna tell you now the stages and why this behavior literally made their relationship beautiful, loving, intimate, and fulfilling. And honestly, that was the only couple I ever lived with as my caretakers that I felt the love. I was kind of like in the child role, even though I was already older. I was like just 18. But I felt the love, I felt the connection, and I felt the safety, I felt the care, and it was just so beautiful. And it sparked something in me. It sparked like the hope that this is possible, even though I didn't see this in my own parents, in my own family. It was just such a beautiful view. And later, you guys know my story. I just had my own issues with relationships, but I saw this couple and I knew it's possible. So I kind of like was obsessed. I think I still am with learning about relationships, dating, how to communicate, how to navigate those things so that dating and relationships is are actually a pleasant experience and not an experience of pain and suffering and not liking each other and breaking up. And I mean, if breaking up was so easy and everybody is different, but for me and for a lot of my especially female clients, breaking up is not easy because you grieve, you love somehow this person, you are attached, right? You are attached, you feel like I love this person. Yeah, I can't live with them, but I also can't live without them. And then going through this every 3 months or every year or so, it's not good for your psychic. Yeah, everybody is different, but mostly women really, really suffer with that. But also for a man, yeah, women invest lots of time, lots of energy, money too sometimes, but also as a man, your time, your energy, your money, your emotions, when you have to like start from the beginning, it's difficult. And I've also seen a lot of men being hesitant to actually be a provider, invest in the relationship because they're like, you know what, for what, we're gonna fight and break up anyways, why would I be in the masculine role? While I know a lot of men want to be the hero, want to be the provider, but it's like, why would I do this if this is destined to fail? And I get that. I get that. It's It is a mess. It's a very difficult topic. And it took me years to figure out actually what's going on, why this one couple that were my caretaker for about a year long were so successful while everyone else literally failed. Okay, and I'm gonna tell you now the stages of couples usually and what makes a couple fail, what makes a couple succeed in terms of forever honeymoon, in terms of forever love, in terms of forever emotional and physical passion. Okay, and before I do that, let me remind you to make sure to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoy it, to subscribe, to send it to anyone that might be in a situation where they are feeling hopeless. Like, should I even be dating because relationships are doomed? They're gonna end horribly anyways? Or maybe they are right now in a relationship that is difficult, that is triggering, that is painful, and they want to know, okay, what do I have to change with my partner so that we can have love again? Okay, and if you're also watching and if you desire more support, you can reach out for a free love audit call. The link is in the description box or in my bio. And if you don't find the link, just send me an email with your information, with your situation. Just say hi, okay? Good. So let's get to the stages of couples and what makes a couple successful. Number one stage is the perfect stage. And in you've been there where you start meeting some, not everybody is going to be eligible for that, obviously. Like a lot of guys or women, you'll be like, yeah, nah. But then there's one person, and it doesn't matter their age, their looks, their even the success or baggage, honestly. Yes, we all say, okay, as a woman, you're more desirable if you have a certain look and this and this. As a man, you're more desirable if you're successful. Okay. But this kind of like pull and attraction can happen to you. Of course, those attributes do count a little bit, but that pull and attraction can happen to you with someone, like as a woman, who is literally working as a gas station or as a bus driver, where you're like, he's got something. Like I just feel this pull. Yeah, or she's got something. Like I've heard so many women saying, like he actually says I'm not his type, but he's so into me. Okay. So anyways, that's another topic for itself, how people choose each other. But there will be one person that, regardless if they are successful or not, beautiful or not, that you are like starting to dream all night about. You might have sexual dreams, some kind of like daydreams. You just want to be with each other. You start having like a lift in mood and energy. Like suddenly you no longer need your cigarettes. You no longer need your favorite cake every day to lift your mood. You're just so energetic. You're just so happy. You feel completed. You feel like, wow, I met the one person for me. This is a dream. I'm so happy. And you might even like want to rush intimacy. You just want to kiss and cuddle and have intimacy all the time and be with each other all the time. And the hormones are exploding and everything is just perfect. Everything is just the way it's supposed to be. Just like in an ideal, perfect world. And that's the first stage, the stage of perfection, the stage of you're finding your dream person. You see the perfect traits and you're just in love. You're just in love. And no, it didn't matter so much if the person meets even like your love list criteria. Although I always tell you guys, like, please watch your love list, whatever you need in a partner, because if you really want to have kids and the other person doesn't want to have kids, guess what? That's usually a deal breaker for everybody. You're gonna have to break up later. But again, that's another topic for another video. How to choose a partner. But yeah, this is the first stage of love. Okay? Regardless if the love list is met or not, this is the first stage. Pure love and perfection. Okay? And in this stage, everything seems great, everything is just perfect. Second stage creeps in between 3 to 6 months. Who wants to guess? Who wants to guess? The stage where kind of like the hormones drop and you start seeing the person's real character. You start seeing the person's real character. You start seeing the person is getting triggered. You start not liking the person. Yeah. And that stage actually comes really fast. Yeah. It comes, I call it the power struggle stage. So you don't like the person. And oh, by the way, let me correct myself. Let me correct myself here. Because that stage of you not seeing the person best usually comes 3 to 6 months, yes. But if you stay kind of like distance, like if you don't move within each other, you don't commit to each other, like there is no commitment, no safety, you just gonna prolong the first in love stage. Okay, so the second stage of power struggle only comes where there is safety, like some kind of commitment. Like it could be engagement or marriage, but even if you're not engaged and married, maybe you move in with each other and you just kind of feel safe and relax around each other. Or I don't know, like you just have been loving each other for a long time, so that there's some kind of safety, like you're together. Okay, like your body feels like, okay, we know each other enough for the other person, like the other person is committed. She or he's gonna stick around for a while. And then the problems start. Okay, the problems start and you start seeing the person's negative sides and you start wanting them to change. And I'm gonna explain you why this happens. Okay, so in the first stage, we are kind of like drawn to a certain, like there is still insecurity. Okay, so are we together? Are we not together? It doesn't matter if you have intimacy, but there's still insecurity. Okay, we don't live together, we're not committed, we are not married, like there's still insecurity. So your brain is like, okay, I want this to be stable. I like the first goal is like, okay, I want us to be stable in union. This is all your brain wants done. Okay? And in the second stage, the power struggle, once you feel stable with the person, the goal starts to be healing. Like you want to heal your childhood wounds. And let me give you an example. So when a person had a caretaker who was aggressive, very aggressive, and that happened to me, you're gonna feel attracted in the first stage to a person that had the same character traits like your caretaker, that was aggressive. Okay, but then once the relationship is secured, in the second stage, the goal of your soul and your body is healing. So in this stage, the fights happen, the power struggle happens because You chose someone who's aggressive because you thought it's like, I don't know, sexy. It was all subconscious. And now it's like, you have aggressive problems. You should work on them. hmm Like, this is literally not acceptable the way you are just angry at people. Okay. Or maybe you, as a man, in the first stage, you fell in love with a woman that was just confident, wild, dressing sexy, being free and wild, and you are like, wow, this is something that I really like. And then, and this, the first goal, remember, the first goal of the brain is to secure the relationship. And then in the second stage, you're like, the exact thing that you admired in the first stage, you start criticizing, even in your head. Why is she just so outgoing and why? Like, why she has so much of her own opinion? This is just so annoying. Like, can you just be a surrendered girlfriend or wife? Or another example. You might feel attracted in the first stage to a person that's quiet. Oh, he's just so quiet. I just feel so good around him. Yeah. The first stage goal is to secure the relationship. Second relationship stage goal is what? To heal childhood wounds. And I'm gonna make another video in detail about this. But in the second stage, what happens? Exactly those things that you loved about this person, you start not liking them. Oh, I just feel so lonely. Why is he always quiet? Why can't he just like be more outgoing and talkative? I just don't like it. Yeah, I'm gonna give you one last example, but you see the patterns. We fall for someone because of a specific trait that's just so attractive. And you could date, maybe you have even like dated multiple people for 3 4 months, and then you realize they all have kind of similar character traits, even if they look differently, because we choose someone who actually resemble our caretakers as children. It's really deep psychology. So one more example. You fell in love with a woman that was really reserved, really conservative, self-righteous. She always believes what's right, what's wrong. Maybe she's very conservative. She wears like, very closed up clothes. And she's just a perfectionist. And you're like, wow, she is great wife material. I want to be with her. And then once you're with her, once the relationship is secured, second stage, the brain wants to heal. Why are you so reserved? Can you not be a little bit more at ease? Can you not be a little bit more sexy? Like, what is it like with those long blouses and always everything has to be perfect? Just chill. Like, who cares if the milk is spilled, like in the kitchen? Like, let it be spilled, whatever. You can clean it tomorrow. Or the cereal lies on the floor, whatever. Like, why you have to clean it now? Let's just relax a bit. So, this is the paradox of all of this. It's like the universe is trying to play us a joke, right? It's like we fall for someone and later don't like the character. And you're not unique to that. It happens to every single one of us. Every single one of us. It's just crazy, okay? And then, just like I said in the beginning of the video, what happens? Either fights happen, okay? Fights happen because people's characters suddenly don't match. Both people have demands and are not happy with what they chose. Or because they kind of like are annoyed by the other person's character, they start having their own lives. Okay, the wife is just, or the woman is just doing her own network events, the guy is just having his own hobbies and work, and they have parallel lives, like they go different paths. There's no connection, no intimacy if they choose to stay with each other, or they simply choose to break up because they're like, you know what, we drifted apart, or we just have fights. There's no point staying together. Let's just separate and in hope we find someone who is obviously a better match. But guess what happens if they separate? They find the exact copy. They fall in love with someone with the characters that caretaker have, and then after the secure stage comes along, they don't like those characters. It's like, great, what's the solution here? Right? It's such a crazy topic. By the way, I am thinking about making a course for couples how to resolve that. If you're interested, I would love to know. You've got to let me know in the comments or send me an email because it will motivate me to make this course. Okay? If you guys need that, I'm gonna make that for you. Anyways, so that is the second stage, right? So now you know why couples fail. Because we're just literally, if we are not conscious, this is how it ends. The very much character traits that we fall for, we start not liking, hating later. Crazy, crazy. So how to make sure that a couple actually stays together? Because if breakup was easy, everybody would be like, okay, let's just break up. We all just have 3 months relationship or casual relationships. It's great. But you might want to have children. You might want to have a life partner forever. You might want to have divine union and build life together, build assets together, build a home together. But you still want passion, you want emotional closeness, um, you want physical closeness, you want respect, and you want to be happy. You don't want to dislike the other person. So, what happens here? The solution to all of this, and I'm going to give you this a little bit quickly, and again, I'm thinking about making a in-depth course about that if you guys are interested. But there are two solutions. Number one is you have to be conscious and self-aware that your brain is playing a trick on you. When let's say you chose a man that has aggression in him, and then later you are annoyed by this character trait. You've got to be self-aware that this character trait isn't really something that needs to bother you. Okay, because we are attracted to it because we ourselves lack this character trait, and then later in the second stage we feel bothered by this aggressive character trait. So you've got to integrate that aggression, for example, within yourself. It's called shadow work. I've got this also in my courses. If someone's interested, send me an email. I've got this in my Activate Your Secret Weapon course and in Live in Love and Bliss course. Okay, so I'm just giving you an overview to touch on that there is a solution. So that once you've integrated that part of him, it will no longer trigger you. Okay, it's like, yeah, it's no longer triggering. Or you chose a person who's very quiet, right? Because it was missing in you, like that silence and peace. And then once the second stage occurs, you're annoyed by his quietness and peace, and you want him to be like more outgoing or her to be more outgoing and fun. But that very specific trait is something that you've got to integrate within you and learn peace, learn quietness, to not associate peace and quietness with pain, loneliness, and emptiness, okay? So that's the number one thing, to kind of like integrate the missing part that we've been like searching in another person to feel complete within us. Then we are no longer going to crave that so much. Even if we break up, we're not longer going to crave that so much in another person. And also, if someone has that within them, it's no longer going to like trigger uncomfort within us. Okay. So this is the number one thing that will help you kind of like feel peaceful with your partner and not feel triggered, and accept him, to do shadow work, to accept suppressed parts, triggering parts. And I know this is like very difficult, so if you are not following me, that's okay too. I cannot go into more details here because it's just a YouTube video, but I just want you to know there are solutions. Number two is I want you to use as a solution your logic a little bit more in terms of, I feel uncomfortable when he or she is quiet. I want her to or he to be more outgoing. Use your logic, use your logic, and first of all, be like, okay, it's still not a reason for me to be uncomfortable. Like, I don't need to be threatened by this. I don't need to feel uncomfortable by this. It's okay. You actively accept the situation, but also you actively speak what you need. Hey, I would love for you to talk to me a bit more, to interact with me a bit more. Or if your partner is aggressive, I would love for you to ground yourself and calm down a little bit. Okay, so you actively communicate the needs. And here is the catch. Your partner and you both need to be growth mindset. If you're doing that personal development work, which I know you're doing because you're watching my channel, this is perfect. You're gonna be conscious, you're gonna grow together, and usually your partner needs to be growth mindset. Do not be like, oh, you're trying to change me, why should I talk more, I'm just an introvert, or why should I be more calm, I love to yell and be aggressive, that's my strength. You know, if the person is very stubborn and is like not cooperative, that's not good. That's why when you're dating, you should be looking for someone who is committed to a relationship success and whose growth mindset. Okay, that's one of the most important traits. I was giving you guys one example that occurred to me that I felt really triggered. I mean, I felt attracted to a man that was very, really quiet in the first stage, right? And in the second stage, once the healing stage, it would bother me so much when he would watch TV, when he would just be quiet. So I had to do exactly those steps too. First of all, learn to have peace and quietness within myself, to just be able to relax and be to integrate that quiet part. And secondly, not act out in terms of how dare you just watch TV and ignore me. No, use my brain and my logic. Okay, it's not a big deal. He can watch TV, and I'm still going to tell my need that I would love some interaction and attention. And then my partner was growth mindset, and he gave me the attention. And guess what? My trigger was healed. My pain was gone. And this is how I could move into the forever after honeymoon stage. Oh, that's the exciting stage. Okay, so once these things are integrated, that's why the first 2 years of our relationships are very difficult, because those things are going to come up and you're going to need the professional guidance to work through these topics. Yeah, and if you desire my support, feel free to reach out for a free love audit call. I've been helping my clients since years to attract, not only attract a dream man, but also going from engaged to marriage. Okay, and also helping them during their relationship after marriage. And that is why also, if a couple is married, is committed, and they have those tools, they are also much more likely to actually sustain it. Because when you're just testing it out, and then the second stage comes up where you are suddenly not liking the characteristics that you literally chose, it's like, okay, that's the wrong person for me. Run. Yeah, but you're gonna run and repeat. So there really isn't an escape from that cycle. The only escape is literally what I just said, integrating what is missing in us, what we kind of like craved and felt attracted to, and now are like, you're too loud and aggressive, stop it. You're too quiet, be more attentive. We integrate that, we use our logic, and we grow together in the couple. Okay, anyways, back to my story where I felt like, wow, I've been heard, I've been given attention, and even though the TV thingy was triggering me, when my partner was watching TV and was quiet, and this is where I could move into the forever after honeymoon stage because literally the triggers were gone, and I could just have love, just have peace, just have fulfillment, and you can have it too. And I've just given you a zoom out kind of like perspective what's really happening. But I understand when you're in the second stage and you are literally in pain because whoever you chose, maybe she's quiet, she's aggressive, or she is withdrawn. In the beginning, it was exciting. Now it's painful. It feels like I can't take this. It's too painful. And I get that. I get that. But there is a way out of that. You don't have to fight with your partner all the time. Break up the relationship and repeat. Because guess what? Next time you say, now I'm gonna attract someone who's loud. And then maybe you do, but then once you again are in the second state, they'll be too loud. And then you're gonna say, you know what, I'm not made for relationships. No, you are. You just need to know how to do those steps I just told you. And you also have to be growth mindset, and your partner has to be growth mindset. That is actually really important. And then once all of those things are integrated and you're no longer feeling pain from your partner, we work through all the topics, and it can take up to 2 years because there's like, for me, it was one trigger was TV. Second trigger was if my partner talked too loud, I would just get so irritated. But when I was dating and I saw a guy who was like aggressive, a little bit loud, I was like, wow, I'm impressed. But in the second stage, "Oh, you're too loud, be quiet, like it's irritating me, right?" It's crazy, but this is just how our human nature is. And then once I could integrate all of these things, the forever honeymoon ever after starts. You are literally just gonna enjoy life, build life together, eat ice cream together, watch movies together, and not have pain for each other, but be a source of love. And then the intimacy will be still there. Emotional, sexual intimacy will be there. And guess what? A million times more beautiful than for the first 3 months. The first 3 months are just chemical. But later, when you actually work through all of those problems, you actually feel fulfilled. You actually feel seen and heard and loved. And you actually can invest in someone because you know it's safe to invest. I can invest my time, my heart, my energy, and I'm happy. I'm just simply happy. And this is literally the key to happiness in a long term relationship. And unfortunately, most people don't know yet how to get there. And relationships are no longer about survival like it used to be 100 years ago, that, women need a man for survival, or a man needs a woman, otherwise he cannot have any intimacy or whatever. Like, that isn't the case anymore. You guys can have casual interactions. Women can take care of themselves. So there's no survival factor. Right now, we are in a relationship because we want the emotional we want to be happy. And if our relationship doesn't make you happy, then why being in a relationship? Then being single or casual dating is better, right? I agree. And honestly, he thinks so too. If you're miserable, why being in a miserable relationship? But I just want you to know that there is a way to actually have a loving relationship, even if you right now are in the second stage and everything, like literally everything about your partner is just so freaking annoying and disturbing and irritating, and you think I just married the wrong person. Trust me, you didn't. You married exactly the right person. We've got to do those 3 steps I have just shared with you, and you're gonna be okay. You're gonna be in a forever after honeymoon with love, fulfillment, shared emotions, shared passions, growing a life together. Okay? And that is literally what also the couple that I talked about in the beginning, when I was 18, I was living with them. This is what they did. Instead of fighting, instead of divorcing, instead of ignoring each other, they talked to each other. They integrated the abandoned part of it. Like, they were really into psychology, those seminars. They, in a kind way, expected, um, shared what they needed from each other, and they were service mindset of wanting to serve. I know in the second stage we feel like you should do this for me, you should do this for me. Yes, but also we need to also listen to our partner and change a little bit for them, and they change a little bit for us. And while you think, oh, I don't want to change, I don't want to change, trust me, whatever characteristic triggers your partner, it's also the field of growth for you. Okay, so just like I got, and I was doing that, I was the source of trigger for my partner for being deflective. I would just like, no, I didn't do this. Like, being deflective means I just wouldn't care so much about the emotion. It was a field of growth for me to have more empathy and to be like, you know what, I did a mistake, sorry. Anyways, we're going too much into depth of all of these topics. I probably have to split in other videos, but thank you so much for watching. Give this video a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't. Reach out for a free love audit call if you desire support on your dating journey or on your relationship journey. And also, the link is, by the way, the link is in the description box or in um, my bio. You can also send me an email. And also send this video to anyone that feels hopeless in dating or in relationships, that relationships are doomed to fail, because they are not. Okay, so we are not talking enough about how to actually have a long-term, loving, fulfilling relationship. All right, thank you so much everyone for watching, and I see you in the next one.